Hey Carl, how are you?
Really well, Kashif. Good to be with you again.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. I know we are directly jumping to this one. So let's do this without any introductions. I think people already know us by now. Were telling me that you were just came out of a meeting in Hong Kong, which is around responsible AI committee for AI. Tell us a little bit more. What kind of discussions are happening over there?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for bringing it up. It's the Responsible AI Committee. I'm the co-chair there for the AIHK here in Hong Kong. Fascinating conversation on AI governance, and we talked about a number of things, but what I shared with you earlier was that we were talking about how to think about the assessment of tools and use cases.
Oh, nice.
And I say tools because I think there's this recognition here, certainly during the discussion, that you can't just think of AI as individual tools anymore. You've got to think about this more systematically, more strategically, which is why the assessment of use cases, I think, is really critical. And, we had one of the panelists, I won't name the organization, but one of the panelists was sharing about how they had 20 potential use cases that they needed to assess. And it's great that I think staff are coming up with these ideas, right? But how do you now start to think about what are we going to adopt? What is it going to take to adopt? What is it going to take to implement? And I
Nice.
think you start to get into what are the different factors that need to be considered when you think about AI use cases. So I think it's a fascinating topic.
It's fantastic, man. We are having lots of discussions around this over here as well. And actually, let's share with our audience a couple of things. Um, so AI use case evaluation is a very interesting topic. And we have
Yeah.
seen on a spectrum organizations which are pretty good. There are some which are doing awesome, amazing work, and the organizations which are just starting at the moment. So the ones who are starting are still thinking AI use cases mostly from a risk perspective and trust perspective. They're thinking, okay, we want to do something which is safe, which is great, awesome. But AI use cases have got a lot more than, of course, as you know, from a lot more than risk and trust. Then on the other spectrum, there are organizations which are looking at a number of different criteria. So let's share with people some of the things that organizations are looking at. Absolutely, business value is one of them.
Yeah.
They are assessing use cases and thinking, what kind of a value we'll get out of it. And organizations are pretty, strong, pretty focused on this area. So they are not just looking at and saying, this will do awesome things, but they are saying, okay, is this a revenue increase? Is this a cost decrease? Is this increasing the productivity? Is this doing something else that will help us? Then the second thing, of course, organizations are looking at is risk and trust. As we said, it is very important. They are looking at use cases, which, example, if they are dealing with confidential data or if they are making autonomous decisions, they are making sure that they can, consider those. Third thing that organizations are looking for, which actually not many are looking for, is feasibility. Can we actually do it? I mean, data availability, and I know, Carl, this is a very topic very close to both of our heart. Organizations pick up a use case, go down the path of doing all the hard work, and then they realize we don't even have the right data. We don't have enough data. We don't have the data in the right form. Then other things within that organizational feasibility they are looking at is capability, capacity, and the historical achievements. Have they actually done something similar in the past? And have they had any success around it? So that's the third thing. And the last I'll add is, which is pretty important, is the change management element of it. You do all of that, and then there you realize you can't even implement it because the change is so hard that it will either break the existing processes so much that rather than creating the value, it will actually backfire. So looking at those four elements, and then there are a number of aspects under it, but we won't go into the details. But what I have seen is good, strong organizations are looking at those elements from a business value, feasibility, can we still do it, risk and trust, and the change management aspect of it.
You've covered this really, really well. It's quite comprehensive. In fact, we could pick any one of those things and have an entire chat on
Yes.
them, right? I don't want to pick out one at the moment, but what I do want to ask you is I know that you're working on something, and this might be like a bit of a plug, but the ability for an organization to think about this in terms of there's a lot of variables here, there's a lot of factors to consider, there's a lot of things to assess. Can you tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about what you're working on and how that might help organizations?
Lovely. So one of the things we are doing is we are creating a product which will help organizations assess AI use cases in a consistent way. And the best thing about that it is it actually assesses AI use cases on the fly. Once you put it in, even if you change the parameters, it will actually on the fly assess and give you the new answers. There's a lot more work that needs to go in it because, of course, we are designing a proprietary algorithm behind it. There's scoring mechanisms and a number of other things. But that is a challenge. You're absolutely right, Carl. Number of use cases come in, people assess it once, and then things change, and then you have to assess them again. And then someone basically wants a different kind of a outcome, then you have to assess it again. And the thought process is hopefully that product will help with that one. But we'll talk a lot more about that in the future. But I thought we'll do a quick one on those four elements. I know, Carl, there were a couple of other things that were discussed in that committee as well, but we'll discuss it on the next one.
Sounds good. Thanks,
All
Kashif.
right. Thanks.